Right, fingers crossed we're on the right channel this time. Hello, welcome to the JACKOCAR Cup Series. It is Season 7, Round 9 here in Canada. It is sunset, as you can see. And there we go, we're live. This is the second time I've tried this. For whatever reason, the first time it just didn't bother. I was streaming to no one, even though it was on the correct channel. But this time, we're all good. We're on the JACKOCAR channel. Welcome, everybody. I am your commentator, Owen Wyatt. With me in the commentary box, but also on the racetrack, we have got the big man himself, Jacko. And I'm wondering why I've got no game sign. There's no sign for the cars. Oh dear, this is going really well. This is... Oh, there it is. Oh, Tez has already had a spin. Obviously, you don't get to see any of this, do you? So I'm going to have to really...
I can watch it. I can see Tez's facing the wrong way. But I was going to say, this is the first time I've raced and commentated since the very first time I ever commentated in what I believe was ILR, maybe Season 5, which I think would have been early 2019, late 2018, something like that.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to remember this myself, because I feel like I probably would have been there for this, and I don't remember. It must have been me and you doing that. But
no, it was...
Or was that a week I was off?
It was when Jack Gooding was solo comms, and then I crashed out, and then invited me up, but I was sort of having an input during the race of how it was going, and I believe not very well, and then I crashed out, so it went a little bit worse.
Yes. Now I'm trying to figure out here what's happening with the timings. I'm going to assume it's Tez has gone out late rather than Risky's gone out early. So we'll follow Risky round because he's the one who got to the line first. Gets on the grass on the way through the second chicane. There's a lot of chicanes on this track, as you will find out. This is why we often get a lot of carnage around here in the Cup Series. Although last season, for Canada standards, especially with the way these cars are, was quite clean. So I'm sure you'll be hoping for that sort of thing again. But how much practice have you done for this then?
Oh, none. As we see young Tez Pickstock go for a spin. Of course, he's going to win next week, isn't he? So this is all irrelevant. You may as well go straight to Mr. Lewis.
Well, that's why I'm already there, because yes, Tez absolutely was the best driver by some distance in Austria last season, which I always find quite impressive, because he genuinely was extremely exciting as well. Yeah, he's not very good. Well, there's a couple of tracks he's also good at, but this isn't one of them, I don't think. As Risky goes fastest, as you would expect, Tez is not going to have any trouble beating him. Yeah, good luck with that. Where is he? Has he actually got all of his car left on him? He does, actually, so it was just a spin rather than an accident, as he gets himself to the line, and he's going to be approximately 11 seconds off the pace. So, yeah. Might well be the slowest time. Now, next up is due to be Waste, but you'll never guess what. He's not bothered. So we'll move on to Quinn then, who's, well, we're going to see the end of his outlap.
I do hope that these guys have all been informed of the new rule, because I can tell you now, I certainly haven't done it. I have told Corey, but the others...
Has he invalidated that before he started? Oh, he has. Oh, he cut the final chicane in what looks to be an homage to this season's Mercedes, and it looks very, very nice indeed. But unfortunately, as Waste now retires from the session, I think he's realised his mistake. Yeah, this lap's not going to count for Quinn, so we'll see Michel Goris, who's taking a very, very wide line through the hairpin. But what were you going to say about a new rule?
Well, the one that's in Cup, but not in Kia. I know Corey's aware of it. I don't know if Waze and Robin are. Yuri definitely is. Of course, Lesty not here, being replaced by me.
Oh, Michel Goris has done the same thing. He's cut the final chicane, and I think that'll invalidate the qualifying lap. Oh my goodness, are we going to get any laps here tonight?
Imagine the scenes if you have to commentate a Jacko pole in the Cup Series. Because that, at the moment, is heading that way.
Yeah, it's bad enough that I'm missing next week. I'll not show up ever again if that happens. That is going to be horrifying to watch as we ride on board with Leroy. I mean, the sun is going down, but is it still getting in their eyes? Because none of these drivers appear to be able to get any laps on the board. We're already on to, what, our 6th driver, and 3 laps have already not happened. Leroy does get through the final corner. Let's ride them on board for a lap here around Canada as he heads down towards turn 1. Easy to cut that corner, actually, surprisingly. Maybe turning a little bit too early. Exit through 2 is quite important. You can easily use that back end. 3 and 4 is nothing like it is in real life. That curve on the inside of 3 is way smaller, and you just don't cut that in real life. But of course, Codemasters just make it nice and easy to cut here because they don't like us having fun. Turn 6 and 7 again, really marginal on the traction, but Leroy makes it look nice and easy. Onto the first DRS zone of the track. Down towards turns 8 and 9. Again, these chicanes, utter nightmare, and Leroy nearly loses it through turn 9, but kept it all together as he heads down towards turn 10, where we've seen quite a lot of action in the JACKOCAR Cup Series in recent seasons. We've seen, 5 or 6 different cars flying in there back in Season 3. That all led towards a multi-car pile-up in the pit lane entry that day. I wonder if we'll see anything similar on this occasion. Second DRS zone, down the back straight towards the wall of Champions chicane at 13 and 14. And Leroy's navigated that relatively well. Third and final DRS zone. Should be a competitive time, but will not be the fastest time. That is still going to stick with Risky, so good stuff from him there. And I do hope you are keeping tabs on what is going on here, obviously, Jack, because you're going to have to seriously, concentrate on it and listen to what I'm saying so that you know exactly what to do and what not to do on these laps.
I should have a slight advantage in knowing what's going on. Which the drivers don't. Obviously, listening to the stream and racing at the same time is very difficult. But when essentially you're an engineer for me, so I'm gonna have commentary from all around. Well, that's the plan anyway.
Wow.
But something you have missed already, which I have been concentrating on, is you didn't mention it, is Michel Goris, who's on the Joker tonight.
Yes, he's going to have to start from very much near the back of the grid with that, unfortunately. And I don't think Canada's a particularly good track for the Joker anyway. So he's got a right uphill battle to try and make that one work.
Yeah, and some very early stage laps as well this week. They're lap 7 and lap 14. Obviously, apparently I did it wrong, but according to my spreadsheet, it was correct. So you pick. But yeah, lap 7 and lap 14 is where those playoff points are available tonight.
That doesn't make any sense now, because...
But that's what's been made official, so we're going to have to go with it.
Is that what the pit stops are going to be as well? Because that can throw some...
Yes, but everyone's aware of that, so they'll know it's after lap 3 onwards, and then it'll be lap 15 onwards. And of course, in the Cup Series, you can make one of your mandatory stops under a safety car, which hopefully I get to abuse tonight.
Yes, because that means that from lap 15 onwards, there'll still be 20 laps of the race to go, I believe. So that will be, slightly different. That could be something to knock a bite with, though, if it's a success tonight. So I guess we'll keep our eye on and see how that goes as Connor heads on round. No one has managed to beat Risky's time. Rageman went up to 2nd place, Jess up to 4th. Where's Connor going to get on? Connor, who's still looking for that podium, isn't he? And he keeps getting, he gets close every now and then, but it never really seems to happen for him.
It's his best season to date.
Oh, he's gone P2. Very nice indeed. Well, is he finally finding his mojo, or was that just a flash in the pan because everyone is messing their laps up? As you watch MK Bourne in what still appears to be one of the nicest looking cars on the grid. It's a shame his form's dropped off, though, in terms of being able to fight for wins and stuff, because a livery like that, winning races, would be very nice indeed. However, we shall still appreciate it until that win eventually comes, once again, as he heads through the Wall of Champions chicane. Had to cut a little bit too much speed up there. I think he would have been happy to glide through the middle of it. Some of you who've done practice will be able to sort of fly down the middle. It's a difficult thing to explain, but if you just hit both curves nicely, it's a proper straight line rather than sort of taking a chicane in 2 parts. If anyone nails it, I shall be able to describe it to the viewers, but we'll see. MK Bourne went third fast. This is Ben, heads through the middle sector.
Ben, by the way, coming into this tonight, he says he's got severe man flu, so that is a very serious issue. So he may not be towards the front, where we don't see him anyway, because he's the midfield man, isn't he?
Yeah, so we're still waiting for some success, aren't we? As we see the DRS.
It's coming.
The DRS, this will be some very nice toe for Ben Harrett down the back straight. Can't quite tell, it must be Connor that's coming off, because Connor will peel off into the pit lane. And there he goes. Ben on the grass on the way into the final corner. That will probably have slightly compromised his run. It's not going to be fastest, but will be enough for P6. As Jimmy Griffiths, we'll move on to him next. As he heads through the middle sector, looked a little bit slidey, but is making it work. I think he's rejigged his livery around a little bit this week. Still the same base colours though.
Looks good.
Does look nice, doesn't it? Especially in the sunset lighting, and we will have this, of course, for the race as well. We'll wait and see if it rains or anything, but I think racing in this sort of condition will make it possibly a unique challenge. Heading into some of the corners, depends on how the sun moves throughout the race. But if it's already dark as it is, as Jamie got very close to the wall, not hitting it. It was on the outboard view, you couldn't really tell. I think it was 7th fastest, but yeah, I'll be interested to see, and of course you'll be able to tell me how the light affects you in the race as we move on to Kyle. Kyle, who, for the second time in Monaco, won the race with a move on the last lap, and he won it literally on the start-finish line when he got let through. And it was
win's a win.
It was good team play. It was good team play. All worked out the way it was intended to, with the way the penalties were. And I mean, Kyle, it was a win. Gets him through to the playoffs. Of course, we're only 2 races away from deciding who makes it all the way through. That being the ones who don't win races and have to get through via points, as Kyle crosses the line into 3rd place. And Risky, who set the first time of the evening, is still up there. And he's doing a very good job indeed. And he'll be very much enjoying watching this session take place.
It's well known, though, that Risky has one good race a season, so perhaps we're in store for that tonight.
Well, could be. As we see Casper going around in a near blank livery. It's black with some lime green tips on it. I don't know if he's got a specific reason for it. He's got the black helmet and black suit and everything, so I don't know if he actually got a specific reason for this, but it does look nice out there. It'll stand out with the wee green tips on it. And you can hear Jacko is already getting very excited, and he hasn't even done his lap yet. He's heading through.
I'm about to start.
Yes, I'm going to ride on board you and actually get you to describe your lap, if you don't mind, Jacko.
Absolutely. Here we go then. Out of the wall of champions, and we come up then to the timing line where the drivers will set their lap times. Heavy braking into turn 1 here. You can go 2nd or 3rd through there, but you know, the lower the gear, the easier it is to point the car in the right direction. Good bit of traction out of turn 3 as we head on down to turn 4. Maybe the wrong gear there, as I'm trying to concentrate on 2 things at once. I'm not a woman, believe it or not. But this brings us up to the end of sector 1. Again, another heavy braking zone. You've got to try and hit that apex like I haven't. And then into the first DRS zone then of the lap. Hopefully, I'm commentating my own pole lap. That would be a first, wouldn't it, in league racing? Very tricky chicane here. Hopefully, I don't bin it in the wall like Pete did here in Season 2. Ended his Championship 5 hopes there and then. Up to the Robert Kubica hairpin. Of course, was able to come back a couple of weeks later, wasn't he? And race, and then went on to win that race a year later. Out of the hairpin, bit of a poor exit unfortunately, but DRS once again down this back straight. Hopefully I'm not taking up too much time with other drivers' laps, but as we come towards the final chicane, heavy braking, and it's going to be a quick right and then left. I've been validated. Stay on board with me, Owen, because this could be a new pole lap. I don't think it will be. It's a 1:11.3.
It would have been good enough to get you into 5th place, I think. Which would have been ahead of Yuri, who went 6th.
Who? Never heard of her.
Well, you never heard of the Apex either. I don't think you hit a single one on that lap. As we follow Gareth through the middle sector. And well, the game says it's purple, but I don't believe a word of that. Until we see him crossing the line in the green and yellow machine. It's basically the gradient of a banana's life.
Is that Team Speed's fastest driver?
Well, he seems to think so, yes. Although, of course, it's hard to take his word for it, especially when he blows out the final chicane on that. But he made it through. Let's see. Is he going to go fastest? It looks good. Oh, misses it. He set the exact same time as Connor, but, of course, as you said, at 2nd, he goes behind. And a front row of Risky and Connor. What a front row that could be.
Wow.
But is Jamie Wright about to start ruining it? I don't think he'll still be on his wheel, which he embarrassed himself with last time out in the Kia series. Although it would be very good for the entertainment value if he was again. This track is a lot to sort of manage on the pad, let alone the wheel, so I'd be surprised if he's going for it. But let's see the sector times as he heads through. Nothing coming up purple so far, so I mean, after this, we've only got Corey and Jake O'Sullivan, which, I mean, already Risky and Connor are guaranteed to start in the top 5, but I wonder if they'll both make the front row, or one of them only make the front row. Either way, we'll be in for, I mean, we've got MK Bourne in 5th as well. I mean, we've got Gareth 3rd. This is a very interesting grid. Oh, and Jamie Wright's got it wrong. I'm sorry to get excited, but he's going to start at the back.
He's going to start with me.
He's going to start with you. And in fact, the lap time was rubbish anyway. He would have been nowhere. How about Corey? Oh, he's ruining it. Corey's flying around. He's set at 42 dead in that middle sector. Let's see if he can hold it, though, through the final one. That'll put him somewhat close to being at the front. We'll see if it's right up there, though, as he heads through. I believe this is his first appearance of the season.
Correct.
We thought we'd got rid of him, but no, here he is again. After losing horrendously to Championship 5, to no one's surprise. Is he going to come back with a vengeance? It's going to be P1 by 0.3 of a second, to my disappointment. But will Jake O'Sullivan be able to beat it? 19.6 through the first sector. Little bit wide through 7. He will have wanted to get a better run through there, but didn't quite. On that first GRS zone. Will he be able to hold it through 8 and 9? I'm surprised we haven't seen that many people actually lose it through there, if not no one so far. Maybe they're going to save that until the race itself. And he is tracking faster than Corey at the moment, so as long as he keeps himself valid, he's going to get a slipstream as well at the back of Jamie Wright. And this will surely secure the pole position for Jake O'Sullivan, as long as he can just make sure he keeps this valid through the final chicane. Jimmy moves out of the way. Jake turns in, turns out, perfectly fine. And it's going to be against Corey, just about pole position by 10%. I think with that toe would have been a wee bit closer, but you could tell as soon as that arrived, it was going to be basically an open net for Jake, and he slotted it in. So, Jake on pole from Corey. I mean, it's a front row we've probably never seen before, actually, thinking about it. But still, I'm more interested about that second row. Risky and Connor. Wow, that is impressive. I mean, Gareth and Kyle's a good third row as well. MK Bourne and Rage Man, the two Hasselagers. I mean, we've got a top 10 that I don't think we've ever seen one so, not random, but
random,
exciting.
I think is a good word. But Rage Man returning to the Cup Series, that's his best ever qualifying here, and Jake with that pole actually goes level with Corey all time, so they're both on 5 poles each. But more importantly for Jake, that's another playoff point towards the advancing through the round of 10, so he may not even have 2 competitive races once we get into the playoffs. He could go straight into the round of 8 the way he's going, and of course regular season championship, Owen, could be won tonight.
Indeed, and we'll see how that all pans out throughout. 6 drivers couldn't get a time on the board. Jack, you will be the highest of those, as I'm sure will please you somewhat. But it's always nice to see 2 drivers at the exact same time, let alone that exact same time be a 1:11 dead. That's very satisfying to look at. And, well, we'll see what... Obviously, of course, you can tell me what the conditions are for the race. I'm not bothered to ask you. I wonder if you've bothered to check.
You may as well abuse me whilst I'm here, aren't you?
Because you're going to have this grid tell you everything on the grid. We always said we want to see what the weather's going to be beforehand. You're going to get, 7 slots it'll show you on the grid? And I'll be able to get the in-depth information from the man who knows it all. That's his words, not mine.
I don't know it all, trust me. According to the game, though, apparently the best 2 strategy options are either hard and medium, which you can't do in JACKOCAR anyway. So it's looking like medium, soft, pitting at the end of lap 13. So that's perfectly viable, especially now with the new safety car rule. And then it's just a matter of how many laps of fuel do you want. Of course, safety car. We've never had a Canadian race without a safety car in JACKOCAR.
Yeah, feels a pretty safe bet, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And no rain then. I mean, it looks like it's pretty sunny out there.
Yeah, it's sun all the way through. Track temperature 26 degrees, in the air 17. So I think it's just going to be a straight up race to the end, isn't it? With the exception of Michel Goris on his Joker. I'm tired of waiting for these guys. I'm just going to get this session on the go.
I was going to say, what's taking them so long? It always happens this. They give us time to talk, but unfortunately, I don't really care for talking at this moment in time. I'd rather waste my time on the formation lap talking for everyone's tyres, which I'm sure they're. I mean, no offense, I don't think the people see you as a threat anyway in this, so I don't think they're going to mind you having the information.
Would you like me to run through my Cup Series stats, because they're pretty good? So,
no doubt
6 starts, 1 stage win, obviously give me 1 playoff point, 22 points all time with 7 laps led, and a single top 10 finish, which I got this season in Zandvoort.
Yeah.
Am I fine? Pete.
Just want to remind you that Tez is a race winner, so and he's ahead of you on the grid, in fact, as well. But okay, you are one of 5 drivers who are starting on the medium compound tyres. It's Ben Spurs, Jamie Griffiths, Tez, and I mean you can see it, but Michelle Gorries, who's on the Joker from 16th place. And talk us through then what you're going to be doing on this formation then, because we've seen so many things happen on this before. You've obviously changed some rules to stop people spinning round, but especially on the mediums, how hard is this to actually heat the tyres up? Because you know what it's like off the grid when you have not enough tyre temperature.
Absolutely, so it's just a matter of trying to get temperature into these slightly slower tyre, isn't it? Once I get out of this corner, I will start the weaving, which I'm sure other cars will be doing as well, and hoping that the safety car goes my way. So I'm sure a lot of these other drivers will be planning on a safety car of hindering the strategy, so keeping that as a factor, I believe is the way we're going to have to go. As Tez spins in front of me.
Wow.
Hopefully he does that during the race.
Yeah, that's not a good omen, is it, when he's already spinning around? No. That'll help his tyre temperature. Although he did reset the track, you'll have noticed, but I think that's okay on a formation lap.
Yeah, I'm not asked by that on a formation lap. But yeah, it's just a matter of basically doing what one can. Keeping the car facing the right way, making the most of the result, have a bit of fun whilst we're here.
Try not to swear too
much.
Oh
my god.
So we've got obviously that. Oh dear, I didn't actually see that. I cut away from you to watch Jake O'Sullivan, but that's 2 of you on mediums who are going to have freezing cold tyres on the grid.
Can you imagine the tonight's Joker driver driving into the league owner?
I mean, it's not exactly the best thing that he could have done, is it?
It's not, but it's fine.
And so we watch then as Jake O'Sullivan, who got overtaken by Corey, very eager to get onto the grid. Risky in 3rd gets disqualified. That's more for just missing his grid slot, I think. And Gareth is putting himself right at the middle of the track. I can't quite believe he's allowed to go that far outside his box. Look at that. He's in the middle of the track, but he's allowed to do it by the game, so we'll let it slide as we wait then for some lights. And it's not the longest run towards turn 1, so Jake shouldn't have the hardest time in the world. But let's see, we've got 5 lights on here in Canada. And boogity, 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 let's go racing. And it is a good start indeed by Jake. He'll very much lead that one to turn 1. How about that second row? We know that Connor's got an advantage thanks to getting in his grid slot. And they're side by side, these two. Risky and Connor. And it's Connor who makes himself up into 3rd place. Kyle doesn't make any movement apart from getting past Gareth, so moving himself into the middle of the grid didn't really help him out too much. Meanwhile, in the mid-pack, Jamie Griffiths, he's the highest runner still on those medium compound tyres, and everyone's keeping it relatively clean so far as Tez goes flying up the inside. And we see Corey already losing the car, and he's going to be facing the pack. He's going to have to wait for them all to come through, which means Jake has a relatively comfortable lead of 1.5 seconds at this very early stage. And Corey, he's got a lot of work to do, but I don't think he had any damage on there. And Jacko, I've noticed you've fallen down a little bit. How's your start going?
I had a boggy start and then lost a few positions off the line, but nothing we can't recover, as we see a bit of contact here with Michelle once again, and Waze with classic internet problems struggling, but I'm ahead of the 2-time champion in the Cup Series. That's all that matters for now. Yeah,
we'll see how long that one lasts, as Jamie Griffiths had a look there on Yuri coming down that back straight. Doesn't want to take too many risks. He's in a very good position being at the top there as Tez puts himself in the wall on the way out of the final corner. That's where Kevin Magnussen famously went off in qualifying back in 2019. No, that appears to be a full safety car, because you can see the yellow dot there in the pit lane exit. And so that'll give Corey his chance. He's into the pits. This is obviously all non-mandatory, but he'll know that anyway. The pit window will possibly then open during this safety car.
100% it will. So this lap would be non-mandatory. Next lap, providing the safety car stays out, which it will be mandatory. But of course, you cannot follow the safety car in for it to count as a mandatory stop.
Yeah, I'll be
that is the ruling.
I don't think we've actually seen this too much so far this season, where people are going to throw, especially with a new rule, where they're all going to potentially be throwing themselves into the pit lane at the end of the next lap.
I'm just wondering what the point is, to be totally honest with you. I mean, for those of us on mediums, certainly there doesn't seem to be much point, and it's worth saving the ability to pit under a safety car until later on in the race. So a late race restart, it could really favour somebody who doesn't use it up now in the stage 1 stop.
Of course, some people might well be thinking, thanks to the way these stages are working tonight, which is slightly different thanks to a potential definite miscalculation by yourself, where we're going to have the second stage end about, a good sort of 5 laps,
14.
maybe a few laps before maybe it should. Maybe it should have ended on it should have ended on lap 18 then, really, but it's ended on lap 14, and that'll mean that people might just decide to go for a relatively short second stint from lap 4 to lap 14 and then just whack a set of mediums onto the end, see if they can do that. So I wonder if anyone will pit in this and just work just work the pit stop phases and see how that works out for them, because you'll lose a lot less by pitting under this safety car, as Corey is back in for a new front wing, so he's gone and binned it on that out lap. Another non-mandatory stop for Corey.
Owen, what would you do in this situation? Would you bolt on the softs and go to the end of lap 14 and pit then? End of lap 15? Or would they not? I don't think they'd last that well.
That's the only problem. But if you're starting on the soft, there's a chance you'll have 2 sets of mediums, and so you can definitely get 2 sets of mediums to the end of the race from here. And so I'm wondering if, I think it were me, if I were like in the mid-pack or whatever, I'd put some mediums on and just naturally move through the field and just look after my tyres, get to that second pit stop phase. Of course, the only risk here is that perhaps you'd be looking for that next safety car to take advantage of, but you can only pit under one of them. But I don't know. I would take the risk early on and play myself into the back of the pack, and then just stay on their tail and just see what happens. So let's see if anyone's going to pit. None of these front guys are even thinking about it. So, like I say, it's not really something you do at the front. We do have Leroy in. Like I say, he's around mid-pack, so that's what I'm expecting.
Casper as well.
Quinn 2. So yeah, it's mid-pack drivers doing this. It's Jamie as well, and Jess, and I assume Corey probably as well. He might as well take a mandatory while he's here, and indeed he will. And so yeah, 6 drivers from the mid-pack, all going to pit.
Yori's spun, by the way.
Yori has spun, I can see that. He's going to fall to the back of the pack, which is only 13th place, but still not the best result. And I'd be amazed if Corey doesn't put mediums on, and he does. So yes, all 6 of them pitted for mediums, and they should be on the back of the pack for the restart, which should be at the end of this lap, Jacko.
Yep, and you will notice as well behind me, Mr. Goris has stayed out on his Joker, so he wants to try and make something of that. Obviously, he will accept, and probably be the first to admit that he's not the fastest driver in this field. As you know, it's not a Tuesday night. This is where the big boys are. Although only 75% of them decided to turn up today. But I do wonder what Michel can do, because he's on a totally different strategy to the rest of us. Although, as you said in the build-up, Canada, not the easiest to do a Joker around. However, this safety car could help him.
Now, where's the restart zone? Is this going to be DRS activation to the start line?
It's a very good question that you're asking somebody in the race, isn't it? Who should have paid attention.
Well, I should have paid attention, but at the same time, I'm just going to confirm of the person who might have to conduct the race at some point. You probably won't, but yeah, I'm
don't be silly.
Going to assume it'll be
it's in the group chat. It's in the group chat.
I'm going to just take my own word for it, then, because it makes sense to be the DRS detection point, which is going to be there, just where Jake's gone across, and they have that run to the start-finish line. That'll happen at the end, I would assume, of lap 5. And yeah, we'll get to see how that gets conducted. And Yori, having had that spin, decides, well, he's lost enough already, he might as well go and take the strategy decision. Of course, the issue is here, we know that Canada is quite atrocious, and so you will see safety cars throughout the night, most likely. And so this is where putting all your eggs in the basket this early might be a mistake later on, but you just never know.
So from what I understand, we've seen 5 different drivers make their
7.
Is it 7 mandatory stops?
Yeah, 7 who've made their first mandatory stops.
Okay.
All onto mediums from softs.
So you got those 7, and you've got another 12. Is that right? Sorry.
You got
the
top 12.
11, because there's only 19 drivers. 11 that have not pitted, and then Michel Goris doing his own thing. So you got a good mix here.
Well, yes. So there's 12 who are yet to make their first stop, and then, yes, there's 11 who have to make 2 stops, and 8 you have to make 1. And it's
but those 11,
top 11 have to make their stop. Bottom 8 have to make their other stop. That's about as simple as it is, really. So
yeah.
top 11,
and those 11, those top 12 can pit under safety car should another one come out, which it will.
Well, we'll see. We will see. Although I'd be surprised if not. So Connor then, and Risky, you're looking at the race leader and you're thinking about your restart here, because both of these two have a chance to lead a race tonight. Obviously, Risky's won in JACKOCAR before, but Connor hasn't had a chance to win a JACKOCar race realistically since the very first race. We're now 109 races in. Well, I'm talking about the Cup Series, really.
Of course.
Since race 1 of the Cup Series, he hasn't had a better chance. Will he be able to do anything on the restart? Answer to that, no. And it looks like Kyle, though, he's right up the inside of Risky. That will turn to the outside for turn 1. He gets shoved onto the grass, but still commits and loses the rear end. Will we see Gareth Hall dive down the inside? Yes, we will. He's up to 4th. He's going to be up to 3rd as well. And I'm going to see if Jacko can avoid all that, because Ben Spurs has been involved. And it's contact between Gareth and between Kyle. And it was... I'm going to assume Risky has collected you, and he's collected quite a few. I'm surprised there's no safety car, but because of this happening so early onto the restart, nothing they can really do. So Ben, out to this race. Risky from 3rd, no front wing. Jacko, what's your damage? Or did you just stop for them?
Yeah, I avoided the initial incident of the spinning car in turn 2. Found myself on the outside, stuck behind the DNF'd Ben Harrett, and then got rear wing damage from someone who didn't see any of that happening. And now I've got it's yellow rear wing, so it's not good, my end. Oh,
Michel Goris gets nerfed there by Jamie Griffiths, and he's going to be worried about Jamie Wright and Casper and Corey. They're all scrapping away for P9, which is essentially net P2 in this race. As we see, Michel Goris, he's up there in 6th, but this is going to be a real scrap, sure, between these three, because they'll know what this all means. As into the pits comes Jamie, I believe, and... Wes, or Jamie's just picked up a penalty actually, so that's all he's done there. But Wes into the pit, new front wing, and Corey up the inside of a damaged Casper look, and that'll be him up to what would be a net 3rd place. So Jamie Wright, as usual, finds himself in this position where he can win the race, but he has got to get himself up to the back of Michel Goris. He's got 1 car between him and that, so that will be really the fight to watch here, because Jake, for now, is going to sprint away and see what he can do, as Connor just sits behind in that 2nd place, enjoying himself. Kyle is very much under pressure here from Gareth and from MK Bourne. They're both all over this. And when DRS gets enabled on the next lap, we'll certainly see what happens there. As we see Corey now coming back at Jamie. He does have a penalty, but he does have the brakes up the inside. He's gone way wide, but will he be able to make this work on the exit? He should have a pretty good slingshot effect. And we'll see how this one goes on the back straight. But I think Gareth is shaping up to move on Kyle. That makes no sense in the final corner. And Kyle then pits. Gareth gets his braking all wrong. MK Bourne, there were DRS, he'd be through. And Corey gets himself past Jimmy Wright. Jimmy will see that there is no penalty for himself and a penalty for Corey, and maybe just sort of hold back a little bit. As we see a yellow flag coming out for Rage Man. He will recover though back onto the racetrack, but he will be on course to being lapped soon if he's not careful. And I believe we'll be getting to the end of that first stage as well, so it'll be Jake picking up the point for that, 3.1 seconds ahead of Connor, and Gareth in third. But again, he's not pulling away here from MK Bourne, who's found a turn of pace here. 3.5 seconds in front of Michel Goris, who is sitting himself 8.3 seconds off the race lead. He'll be very much enjoying that, but again, looking behind him to see Jamie and Corey, who loses it. Corey, who was in a fantastic position, loses it on that second chicane and then hits the wall for good measure, trying to avoid Yuri. Which means Jamie Wright, well, if he can get any pace up, which he doesn't look like he has at the minute, can chase after Michelle Gorey. So will that mistake prove to be a race-deciding one? We'll find out later on. MK Bourne going to find no way through Gareth, because Gareth, I believe, is about to get onto the back of Connor's DRS. So this fight for P2 on track is getting very exciting indeed. Can Jamie Griffiths get himself past Michelle Gorey? So if I'm him, I'm just going to let him go. You're on the Joker. You're only going to make one stop today. You've got to make these tyres last as well. So don't do anything stupid. And yellow flag for Corey, who has got it wrong into the pit lane, I believe. And probably out of rage more than anything. And out of the race.
So Corey told me coming into tonight he's going to win. That's not happening, is it?
Well, I think without the mistake in that turn 9 exit, he would have been. They're sort of shooting for the win, but it's not happened that way. As we see, like I say, a fight for second place that I don't think you would have been able to predict even in a random number generator. Connor versus Gareth versus NK Bourne for second place on the racetrack, like. You just could not believe it. As they've had their DRS, Connor's got next to no ERS. Will he be perhaps looking at the pit lane on this lap to avoid what's coming? Because here comes Gareth, and he's going to have the DRS, he's going to have the run up the inside, and I would be at all surprised if we just see Connor just keep going straight, and indeed he will, straight into the pit lane entry. Gets it slowed down, and Gareth, well, he's got the DRS to pull away, and I think he'll need it as well, you know, because MK Bourne on this lap, let's see what he can do. He's got the ERS advantage, he'll have the DRS advantage. And Michelle Gorey's, by the way, holding on quite nicely to the back of Jamie Griffiths and pulling away from Jamie Wright. So Jamie Wright doesn't appear to have the pace. Someone who's before turned around and said he doesn't really like this track, but it doesn't stop him winning here. But this time, it's not looking as secure as Yuri starts to close in on him, and Yuri's played himself into what could turn into a podium position later on today. Having had that spin under the safety car, he sort of quietly moved his way up and is making it work very nicely indeed. And he's now very much in DRS. But let's look at that 5 for second place on the racetrack, and we'll worry about strategy later on, because these guys in mediums, they're going to have a very long race in front of them. It's no guarantee they will stay at the front, especially if we get any more safety cars. MK Bourne, we've not seen him doing this for a very long time. Onto the ERS, onto the DRS. Hopefully they don't ruin it by pitting, because this is a fascinating scrap down that back straight. Race leader into the pits of Jake, and second place and third place all will come in. Will Jamie Griffiths stay and lead a few laps? You would expect so on those mediums. And we'll see where the leaders all come out, but I don't expect anything major to have happened.
So where does this leave Connor then?
Well, we're about to find out. He's in. Okay. Well, obviously he's right in front of you, and all over the back of Quinn. Out of the pit, will Gareth and MK Bourne beat him out? They've had DRS help, but I'd be surprised. And indeed, we're going to see Gareth alongside, but not in front. They're both, though, all over each other still, and all over the back of Quinn. Now, that yellow flag, I'm trying to work out if that's for Rage Man. It is for Rage Man, so I wonder if he's picked up more damage than just that front wing earlier on, when he got involved in that turn 2 restart accident. But can Gareth try anything here? Can Connor do anything? Connor's not got all the ERS here. And Quinn, obviously he's fighting for track position. He's not pitting for a while, so he's not going to want to mess anything up here. As here comes Yuri on Jamie Wright, who, like I say, he just does not seem to have the pace today. And he was behind before the DRS detection point, and so he should be able to pull away very nicely on that back straight. So that's Yuri. He has a penalty, but he should pull away. Now, Casper is the cause of this latest yellow flag. He's back on the track though, and Connor doesn't look close enough to Quinn to be able to fight him here, so he is going to have to keep looking behind him. And this is going to be a fascinating fight. Jacko, are you catching this? I would have thought you would be.
I am, actually, believe it or not.
On their cold tyres, these lot. And I wonder if you can get involved as well, of course, yet to make a pit stop.
My mediums from the start are at 24%.
Risky now is the cause of the latest yellow. So these are all guys at the back who are just not quite making things work. And how nervous must Connor be at this moment? Because he really is fighting with near enough the big boys at this point. We'll see, like I say again, how strategy makes things work. But, oh, I'm fascinated by this. as Quinn goes wide through 6 and 7. That's just going to bunch them right up. It's like a safety car, this. They're going so slow. And they're now going to follow in a right train down towards turns 8 and 9. And Connor nearly into the back of Quinn. Quinn is practically holding the lot up. Are we going to see anything from Gareth maybe into the hairpin on this lap? Try and surprise Connor because he's leaving that outside line open as there's another yellow flag. Trying to work out what that's for. And Gareth right around the outside of the hairpin. Look at that for an overtake. That was very well done there. And Connor, well, he defended the inside line, but he didn't really account for what was about to happen to him. And now Gareth is flying out of the back of Quinn. There's no way he throws out the inside, and indeed he doesn't. Now, yellow flag. That's Michelle Gorey's been overtaken now by Yuri. And this is for the lead. That is for the lead, that. If he can pull the gap, that is potentially the race-winning move for Yuri. He's already made his first stop. Only has to go in, obviously, one more time. Has to be under green conditions, though. That pit window opens in 2 laps' time. And Jamie Wright, right around the outside of Michelle Gorey's. Is he perhaps driving too carefully for his own good? Because it's costing him time. And there goes Jake as well. Jake, of course, doing this for position as well. But how long will those sauce last? Is he driving too aggressively? Yuri
Connor 5 with MK Bourne, by the way, for P9.
Yes. That is surely a fight that'll be won by MK Bourne, assuming they don't come together, and they don't. Quinn picks up a time penalty in front of this, so you can tell he's pushing. Yuri has hit the wall from what would have been a race-leading position. And it's gone completely awry, and now here comes Jake for what will be the lead of the race. And in 1 lap, he's gone from a net 4th to the net lead, just like that. Easy as that. And surely he'll be able to pull away. The tyres will have a good few laps in them yet. And, well, it's not quite the fastest lap because he had to navigate quite a lot of cars to get there. But fantastic lap then from Jake to make that one work. And Connor and MK Bourne get themselves past Quinn, who did pick up a penalty. Will Quinn fight back? He's got the older tyres, I'd be surprised. Doesn't make much sense for his race anymore. And he's got a broken front wing as well, so Jacko, there should be a chance for you here too.
You'd like to think, wouldn't you?
You would do. I'm on board, no pressure.
Yeah, you got the same view as me then. You'll see my rear wing damage playing effect in a few of these corners, and the rear tyres are also starting to go, but the car is still very much drivable. I now have the DRS on Quinn. Be nice to get a live overtake, wouldn't it, with commentary, but he, I believe, must have had the DRS from Connor in front. I don't really want to abuse my ERS at this stage. Try and save some of that for later in the race, but yeah, no, it's despite the crash after the restart, it's looking good at the moment.
See, it's good to see that insight about the ERS, because I mean, we talk about this every week. I mean, and you've heard me talking about it all throughout the race as well. That's almost been what's been dominating the fight so far. As Gareth now is going to come past Yuri, and this is a speed-on-speed move, and there shouldn't be anything tricky going on there. But Gareth didn't really pull back to the racing line. Nearly got that all wrong into the chicane. And Jacko, here comes your moment. Then I shall let you have the floor.
Oh, I think I'm going to get it done before turn 1 on the inside of Quinn then. You know he'll hang it around the outside, and there's a safety car.
You were just behind him, but who's that for? I'm trying to work it out. I actually don't know what's happened out here. What has happened? Well, they brought a safety car for nothing, because it's not the race leader. I thought it might have been him for a moment, but I'm trying to find a car that's actually had an accident, and I can't find one. It's MK Bourne. It's MK Bourne. He's lost his whole front wing. So I don't quite know where he's done that, because he hasn't really lost any ground, but the front wing is gone. And it's lap 15. Crucial lap 15. Because Jamie Griffiths has missed the pit. He's missed it. He's not made his first stop yet, nor has Michelle Gorey, but he's okay. It's Jamie Griffiths who didn't make a pit stop. Surely his race is over. He'll get black flagged, won't he?
No, because me and Quinn have done the same thing. We've not pitted either. You can make both of your mandatory stops after the conclusion of the second stage.
I genuinely didn't know that was a rule until right now, thank goodness for that.
Okay, there you go. So it's entirely up to the driver. If you're going to make one in the first half of the race, it has to be after lap 3, but before the end of stage 2, or you can do both of them after the completion of stage 2, like I'm about to right now.
I think me and Gareth probably need a reminder of that rule then. Because I think every Kia race, we're sitting there saying, oh, he's got 1 lap to pit, or else he'll be black flagged. Right then, so the race leader, Jamie Wright, followed by Jamie Griffiths. Well, these are all people. Well, okay, we're going to get the stops graphic up and actually tell you where this is. So, Jimmy Griffiths. Well, Jimmy Wright has to pit again. Jimmy Griffiths has to pit again. Yuri has to pit again. Jake, race leader, on stops. Michelle Gorry's second on stops. Wes has to pit again. Jess has to pit again. Kyle, good to the end. Gareth, good to the end. Interesting that Kyle got himself in front of Gareth, actually. Yuri, good to the end. Connor, good to the end. Falling down quite a bit now. Casper, good to the end. NK Bourne gets away with losing his front wing. He's good to the end, I believe, unless he made his first stop onto the safety car, which actually, I think he did. I'll have a quick look. No,
I believe he did, yes. But the thing is, this is the beauty of this new rule, how it allows, like, obviously I had a poor restart and those guys that all in front of me hadn't pitted either. It's allowed all of us, because we've saved our stop under the safety car to now, we can use it. And it sort of keeps us in our positions, which is something you never could do before.
MK Bourne did pit under the green, actually. I thought I was sure on that one. So, Jacko, you obviously had to pit again under green, and then everyone else is pretty much good to the end. So
MK Bourne has a drive-through as well, by the way.
Ah, so he's broke his front wing and sped, I would assume that would mean, under the safety car. That's quite unfortunate. So, right, let me just reiterate then the pit stops then. So, top three have to go again. I believe all have to be under green. Wes and Jess have to go again under green, and Jack, you have to go under the green. Everyone else can do whatever they want now. But that's interesting then, that Jimmy Wright is going to have the whole pack on him, because he's had his normal sort of lock his way to the front, but now he's going to have to really use his pace. And of course, Michelle Gorys has used mediums in his first stint, so he's had to go to the hard compound tyres for the second half, whereas Jake gets to use some nice, fresh, shiny mediums.
Oh, but Owen, let me tell you, there's another safety car in this race yet. This will not be the last one.
And Gareth is also on the hards, fighting against Kyle, so that's going to be something he's going to get grilled for soon enough, I would have thought.
You've got drivers like Gareth and Connor who can win this race. And it's Canada. It's going to get scrappy at some point. There'll be another safety car. So I think the order you see, not that I can see much of it, 12th down to 16th, is not going to be how this race finishes, as we are now at the halfway stage. And has it been a good one to watch from your perspective?
Rubbish.
Okay.
Worth pointing out, by the way, Jamie Griffiths will have got that second stage point, which is what he was staying out for then. But Jimmy Wright is the one who's going to have to navigate the restart, which will be happening in just a moment. Now, Jamie Griffiths is on brand new tyres, and Jamie Wright is on 13-lap old tyres. Yuri's on 12-lap old tyres, so you would imagine that Jamie Griffiths has all the control here in his hands to make this work against Jamie Wright, who I don't believe is actually that fast around here. So, let's see what they do. I'll tell you what. They always try to anticipate it, and they never ever can. As they head down towards turn 1, Michelle Gorys nearly into the back of Jake. I'm wondering if there actually was a little bit of contact there. There certainly was, very close to each other, but I think they've got away with it. As I'm watching Wes and Kyle going side by side, and Kyle gets himself straight through. I think they both maybe picked up a penalty there, actually. They both seemed to fancy cutting the corner. Quinn did as well. And Jamie Griffiths, down the inside, straight through into the lead. You would expect that on the near tyres. How is this going to affect Jake? Because we see Yuri going through as well. And it's going to be Jimmy Wright versus Jake on the road. And, he's into the back. Jamie Wright nearly backs Jake into an accident. And is he going to keep doing that? Is there going to be any benefit for other ART drivers, i.e. Kyle, who's just gone down the inside of Michelle Gorys, who looks to have a very messy car, but obviously freezing cold tyres on those hards.
Oh, Casper in the wall!
And that could be a safety car. It's late enough in the lap for it, and Quinn's got involved as well, so that has to be a safety car, and indeed it is. Jess got involved as well, but she'll obviously be able to recover. Yuri into the pits, missed it, but I'm going to hope he was committed enough. I would assume he was, otherwise he wouldn't have pitted. I think he's smart enough to do it under the right conditions, but I'm sure I can't even go to VAR on it, but
Yuri is the most experienced driver in the JACKOCAR leagues.
I trust him.
136 race starts out of I think 167 races across Cup and Kia Series. So if anyone's going to get it wrong, it's not going to be him. You'd like to think, anyway. But that crash, by the way, happened right in front of me. I didn't see the very start of it, but what I did see is Casper losing the rear, going across the track, hitting the wall on the inside of the exit, the hairpin. Hold on, let me just catch up. I'm falling behind there. And then too busy talking. And then the wall threw him back across the track, right in front of the path of Jess. I was on the outside of Jess, so I just about scraped through. A very close call. But yeah, I don't know if Casper just lost it on the curb on the exit. If he's still on board with me, I'll show you the curb I'm on about. Or if there's another car involved. So round here, I had Quinn on my inside at this point, and Jess where MK Bourne is. Casper, though, I think he might have got here, and then that put him into the Rolex barriers.
It's very unlike him to be that sort of mistake, though, isn't it?
Very.
So I do wonder if he had a little bit of help. As once again, we're going to see at the front, by the way, Jamie Griffiths and Jamie Wright, and I'm sure you've probably noticed, Jacko, I'm this close to having a stroke over these two. They need to separate at some point. I'm getting too confused by two Jamies at the front of this race.
Well, one of them is a two-time race winner, the other is a two-time champion, if that helps.
Not really.
Okay, never mind then.
They're going to have Jake and Kyle around them. Now, obviously, Jake and Kyle and Jamie, are they all ART?
Jake, Kyle, or Jamie? Jamie Wright is, yeah.
Because I was wondering why Jamie Wright was almost backing Jake into Kyle, because I'm sitting there thinking, is that ART Games? But why would you disadvantage another ART driver? All three of them are race winners this season. So, you know, they don't really have to ruin anything to force people into playoffs and stuff like that. So, yeah.
The guy that they really want up there is Connor, who sits in P9 at the moment.
Well, I mean, Connor is good to the end, obviously. So, I mean, let's see, where would he net be? First, second, third, fourth. He's net 6th right now, which isn't bad. He's actually not having a bad run of form recently. So, I mean, he'd still take that sort of result. I'm going to get the championship standings up, though, because I don't think he's actually in the running for that yet. But, I mean, if he keeps this form up, the chase could become quite exciting for him. No, I'm sorry. No, actually, if he keeps this up, Connor would be moving up into the top 10.
Yes, because Pete and Jordan are not here.
Ben Harrett's gone. He's ahead of MK Bourne. So, yeah, he would actually keep this up, and he would be moving into the playoffs. So, there's some potential ART games in there. For people who are already advanced, by the way, just thought we should go through that while we're under safety car. We've only had 5 winners in the first 8 races, nowhere near as many as we've had in previous seasons. But they are Jake O'Sullivan, who's on to win tonight's race. Ben Shaw, not here. Jimmy Wright, obviously second place on the road. Kieran, again, not here. And Kyle, fighting with Jake for the win. That's what I'm saying. None of them really have anything at stake. Gareth is near enough advanced. He'll pretty much advance tonight, I would have thought. Jordan not here, so might not. Casper won't either. Jimmy Griffiths, if he stays near the front, he'll be okay, but we'll see what happens with his pit stop. And then Ben Harrett will also find himself. I'm going to take a short intermission because my door's being knocked down.
So whilst Owen's gone, we'll talk about how lazy he's been this season, missing 3 races. He's left me as lead commentator, and he gave me the news before this race started that I'm going to have to do the same again next week in Austria at the close of the regular season. No Owen for that for the first time ever. He's never missed Austria, which means I will be lead commentator for there. So welcome back, Owen.
Hi. So yes, basically in terms of the playoffs, we'll see a couple of them, or basically just Gareth go through tonight. If Jake can keep going and win the race, he'll also win the regular season. Although even if he finishes 2nd or 3rd, he'll still win the regular season. So, yeah, that's really what's at stake. But basically, the guy to watch will end up being Connor, assuming he can keep his car on the road, because I don't even know if he's ever been to the playoffs before, let alone going for this
I would
season.
Look for you, but I can't.
Yes, I would tell you if I knew.
I'm inclined to agree with you. I don't think he has, and if he has, it would have been season 1.
So, Jamie Wright then. You've not got the tyres for this anymore, so surely it'd be Jimmy Griffiths having an easy run. So I'd be more interested in what Jake gets up to on the restart. He's trying to anticipate, of course they always are. And I think actually Gareth is up to third. That's not going to work, he'll fall right down. And Connor's had a shocker as well. This is a mess into turn 1. They're nearly 5 wide going for there, and Connor is throwing himself up the inside and somehow making it stick. He stays in around that 8th place. Jamie Wright has fallen down. Jake and Kyle have got through. They can race between themselves now. Although, of course, Kyle has that penalty. But what's happening in that mid-pack? It was so tight through there. And it was all started really by Gareth anticipating and going too early and having to let people through. As MK Bourne and Leroy go side by side and they're going to collide. And they've put Yuri into the wall as well. And Jacko, you're obviously right at the back of all this. There's going to be a few damaged cars. So I'd maybe have a little bit of caution coming through this as we watch Kyle all over the back of Jake. It's for the net race lead. We'll see what he can do with penalties later on. But we've also got Wace all over the back of Michelle Gorison, nearly hitting him. And what about Connor? He's all over Gareth, and he's holding a good position right now because he's still on for that net P6 at the end of all of that, believe it or not. And there goes Gareth through on Wace. Will Wace pit? No, he stays out. Jimmy Wright pits. I'm surprised that Wace is still going, but he maybe will try and go for some sauce later on. As you see, Risky up into the top 9. Will he try and get past Jacko for 8th? Down the inside he has it. Look, he's been in the pits quite a few times today. Risky, of course, was at the front in the early stages, trying to get himself back up there. That was a good move. As Gareth moves himself past Michelle Grace, but gets a penalty in the process. And Waste all over the back of this now as well, down the inside. These hards are not working for Michelle Gorris, and he gets collected there, and Connor then goes through. So it's working a bit better for Gareth, but not really for Michelle at the moment. Gareth's penalties, let me just quickly have a look at the penalties actually, just see where we stand. Waste has 8 seconds, but he'll pit anyway. Kyle has 5 seconds for speeding, Gareth has 3 seconds, so Connor, as of this moment, I believe, is a net podium. But again, how many times have we said this before and had it fall apart? And I've already jinxed him now, but he should be net second place as he now moves to pass Waste, who defends the inside line. Suggests he's not looking to pit, but we'll see. Will he pit maybe after the fact? No, he still stays out. DRS enabled. Of course, Jimmy Griffiths could do with pitting as well at some point, really, couldn't he? Yeah, these penalties are really working in Connor's favour. He's not got a massive amount of trouble around him. After you, Jacko, there's obviously a 10-second gap. If we go safety car free to the end of this race, there's a realistic opportunity here for Connor to pick up a podium. And if Jake finds a wall to hit, you never know, there could be a race win in it for him.
I'm sure in that scenario Jake would give up a win.
He would.
Because I'm down the inside of Michelle Gorris here for P, I think it's 8, I'm not sure.
Yeah, P8, and that'll become a net. Well, you have to pay anyway, don't you? So
yeah.
Actually, forget what that's going to turn into. But I mean, yeah, if they work out that Connor can win the race, I think that's a chance to put Casper, for instance, out. And so you would let that happen because it gives you a better chance in over this season. Because no offence to Connor, but I think they'd fancy their chances against him in a championship fight rather than Casper. So that's why they let that sort of thing happen. Here comes Jake for the race lead, and he's got himself nicely past Jamie Griffiths into that final chicane and can now control the pack from the front. He'll have DRS to pull away as well. Let me just check his warnings actually, the race leader, who only has 1 so far, so doing quite well for Canada standards. Connor not really being caught by Waste, although Risky is catching, although he does have a penalty. That'll be something that catches Connor's attention, as Jamie Griffiths then picks up a penalty himself, another one today, and stays very close to the back of Jake. We're already on lap 25 out of 35. Can you believe it's gone so quickly?
It has felt like that. Michelle in the wall.
And that's a joker over and a potential safety car, and indeed a full safety car is out. That is going to halt these guys who need to pit even more. But it gives you a chance to go for some softs later on, doesn't it? Because this safety car will help with that. But you'd almost need another one on top of this, right? To make it work.
Yes, I need a gap between 2, but it's fine. Because my thoughts at this stage would be to put softs on anyway.
And then strategy, isn't it?
Exactly. So I can't make a mandatory stop under safety car anymore, but I can put softs on in a non-mandatory fashion. And I got a bit of a gap, I believe, after MK Bourne, who's in P10.
It's about 5 seconds.
About 5 seconds. So yeah, it's definitely worth the risk in my mind.
And tell you what, Connor, assuming he... Oh dear.
Never mind.
Assuming... he's laughing through the pain there, he'll be livid. Driving
Not my tear. Oh, there's my tear.
It is your tear. They're both your tears, mate. Your name's on the flipping league, and you're broadcasting your failure to the public. Hope you're enjoying that, the public. So with Connor, obviously, what this does, it keeps him in touch with Kyle and with Gareth, which will obviously vault him up to second place at the end of this race. And so he'll want these safety cars to keep coming, assuming he doesn't get absolutely launched on a restart by the likes of Jamie Wright, who gets to catch right up onto this with some nice fresh tyres, and possibly even more dauntingly, Leroy, who's on the fresh softs, although they probably won't make it to the end without another safety car, but he'll have some good initial grip. And so if I'm Connor right now, I'm doing all these calculations in my head, and I mean, the thing is, it's all ART. If you can get past Gareth, it's all ART in front. They can easily manufacture a victory out of this. Surely, I mean, Jamie Wright is ART. They can manufacture a win for him. Surely, we've seen it before. Gareth is the only sort of problem in this, but he has a penalty, so they can work around that. They can let him lead the race if they need to, but ART
but is Gareth winning a race? Is that really a bad thing for the likes of ART?
Essentially, he's advanced anyway, isn't he? Basically, so it doesn't really matter, I suppose, that one. But they'd obviously want Connor to get a guaranteed pass rather than Gareth, even guaranteeing them both in. They'd rather both are in than none of them are in, because no offense to them, but they'll happily see Connor in because they know they can beat him, and I think they can. Well, it's hard to tell, isn't it? Because Gareth would move up to second potentially in the points if it all works out for him today, but I mean, yeah, we'll see. There's things they got to think about, but I would have thought their main priority would be to do the classic Team Speed move or the classic ART move from last week and let their man win. And he's the only one who hasn't, and he hasn't got the penalty, which makes it a lot easier for them to make it happen. In fact, the top two, Jake and Connor, net, haven't got penalties, so. And Jamie Wright as well. They can make these things happen. I'm sure of it. Surely they gotta think about this. And obviously, we've only waited 108 races for Connor to get his redemption from Australia, by the way, as well. So I mean, we're all sort of waiting for that too. And he will have earned it. He's driven a fantastic race so far today.
Yep, and we've seen a number of manufactured wins in the past, haven't we?
Yeah. Most notably Gareth himself, wasn't it, last season?
Yeah.
So
I think it sounds like a quite exciting finish here. Is this the final safety car? Very likely, but never rule it out, because anything can happen in JACKOCAR.
And it tends to, yeah.
It does tend to. By the way, I got rid of my 5-second penalty and lost one place.
Makes sense to do that. Gets you a chance on a restart then, and obviously for making your final stop. I have a feeling there will be one more safety car, I don't know, with the way this is all set up, there's going to be some sort of incident when it comes to people pitting and working out each other's strategies. I don't know, I just feel like there's another few twists in the tail here. I'd be very surprised if it isn't an ART driver of some sort, though, winning this race. That's about the only thing I can almost say is for certain. Although that's a very dangerous thing to say, with the likes of Leroy out there, but...
Because I can't see it, who is the lead driver without a penalty?
Lead driver without a penalty is the race leader himself, who is Jake. After that will be 5th place Connor. After that will be 8th place Jamie Wright, and then you can see obviously Leroy, MK Bourne, and Michelle Gurries. Jess is the only other driver out there who hasn't got a penalty.
Yep. And let's confirm as well, Michel Goris's Joker has now gone, hasn't it, for the season?
And he has...
I still have to make a mandatory stop, by the way.
As do, and we'll remind people of that now, while I have it up, so do Jamie Griffiths, Wes. They're the only ones who haven't done their pit stop quota yet.
So that'll happen soon enough, because they're only going to have 7 laps to go. And Jake then will be the one to take the latest restart. I mean, he shouldn't find himself under much pressure. I'm almost more inclined again to watch Connor this time and just see if he can keep himself sort of clean, because surely there'll be people feeding him information. Who knows, maybe he even has the stream on as well. He may well be getting, you know, the updates via that method, which will certainly give him all the up-to-date stuff. And surely he's sensing a victory here. He's sensing, you know, what can happen if the team play it properly. So here comes Jake O'Sullivan out of the final corner. No one's really made much moves for leads on restarts here, and it's not going to happen this time either. He's pulled away nicely. Connor's pulling alongside Gareth. He's on much better tyres. He's running outside. Look at down the inside as well. Jamie on Jake, and they've come together. And look at Kyle trying to go around the outside. This is getting properly messy, but they've somehow all stayed in the same order that they started in. As Gareth thinks about it on the inside of Kyle, and Jamie Griffiths cuts the track. Connor is sensibly just keeping his distance from this, because this is getting properly tasty on the inside. Jamie Griffiths does lose that place now against Kyle, and Jamie Wright is now going to be Jake, or is going to be Connor's sort of support driver, I suppose. And he's going to pull alongside West, pull ahead of him, and make contact with Risky as well, pushing him off the road. Gareth is in front of Jamie Griffiths now.
Spun.
Risky has indeed spun, and Jamie Griffiths, does he bother throwing it back up the inside of Gareth? There's almost no point really, because he knows he's going to have to pit. And Connor is going to let Jamie Wright go, I think. Let the faster driver go, maybe follow him up there. And we have a virtual safety car. Perfect opportunity to pit then. Surely they'll all be in.
Works for me, doesn't it?
It does indeed, doesn't it? Jamie Griffiths will be very much happy to take up that invitation. As will Wes. As will you. And I believe that'll be everyone who needs to pit pitted. And it's not going to be a full safety car by the looks of it. And so we're in that position now. It's ART 1245 with a speed driver in the middle. Connor is still on for a net third place, which is still put him very much up there in the standings. But it brings MK Borden into this again. He had some good pace earlier. He hasn't got a penalty. He's got the soft compound tyres on. 4 laps on them. They should get to the end. Leroy's on 7 laps. They may struggle a little bit more, but still has some latent pace in there. Obviously, a few of those laps for both of them have been under safety car. I mean, MK Bordens are essentially still fresh as we prepare to restart this race. We're just waiting for the green flags to start flying. Obviously, you can tell me when it says it's ending.
Ending now.
So we'll prepare for that then. The drivers will all know what's happening. This will help them see the ARS Rageman has sped, but that's not really going to affect anyone else. He's already at the back. And we are racing once again. And so, we see Kyle going for this. And by the way, I'm just seeing this now. Has Jake has got a drive-through for speeding under the VSC. Off he goes. And that means he's into the pit lane. And that means, surely to Christ, Connor is going to win this race. He has to win this race. The top 2 have penalties. Jamie Wright's in 3rd. He doesn't need to win this. Connor is his teammate. He does need to win this. Leroy has just seen himself in a fantastic position. MK Bourne, if he can just make this overtake on him, he could be a shoo-in for it. He could certainly be a shoo-in for a podium, and we've not seen that for a long time. This is going to be one of those properly mixed up race results, assuming they can all keep it clean in these last 5 laps. And Michel Gorres, he's got some relatively good tyres on as well. He could still find a result. DRS is enabled as well. And, well, I mean, if they stay like this, all Jimmy Wright really has to do is pull over and let his man through at the end. But that's assuming that MK Bourne doesn't move up the grid. But that's exactly what he's doing. He's going right around the outside and towards turn 10. That doesn't really work unless you can get a good exit. And it's not quite happening. He's got Yuri on his inside. Yuri has a penalty. But there's DRS enabled. Because that VSC, they didn't have any reason to turn it off. And so they'll fly down that back straight. And Jamie Wright is going to pull past... well, he's going to pull past, and oh, into the wall! He's taking Gareth with him! And that's going to be Connor, up in front of him. There has to be a broken front line for Jamie Wright, and surely at this point, move for your teammate. You're going to cost the ART victory here. What are you doing, Jamie Wright?
Let Connor go. You've got to. He's got no front wing on the car. And Leroy's crashed as well. Is it too late for a safety car? We'll have to wait and see. If we do get one, that essentially guarantees Connor the victory. If it doesn't, then it's possibly too late, because Kyle has pulled a 5-second lead nearly already. He's up to second now, Connor. I would argue that happened too late. He's 4.2 behind, so within that 5 seconds he needs, will Kyle slow down? He may well think to do so. Gareth with no front wing. Good luck defending on this, people. As Yuri comes through, NK Bourne could still finish on the podium as it stands. It's all looking okay for him. Keep it clean, and we'll see what happens. And Jamie Wright might get a little bit of a grilling for what he was doing there earlier on. He really should have helped his team out a hell of a lot more than he did. I think Gareth, is it worth him just staying out and trying to get some more points, even though he hasn't got a front wing on the car? He's only got 3 more laps to survive, and indeed that's what he will do. MK Bourne, if he can get himself past, he won't have to worry about him anymore. Gap at the front, 3.8 seconds. It's still looking good for Connor. Now, Yuri's on the back of him. Yuri has got 3 seconds of penalties. He's got much quicker tyres on his car. Does Connor, again, just do the smart thing and let him go? Kyle will still be able to see the gap of the drivers all the way down to 5th place. So he can make this sort of thing work. MK Bourne is now into that net podium position. He's ahead of Gareth. Jamie Wright has also stayed out without that front wing on his car. So I would expect to see Michel Gorries heading past him in the not too distant future. And Yuri is definitely challenging Connor. Connor who's burnt all of his ERS. Connor who must be feeling the pressure. Connor who is still catching Kyle. The gap, 3.5 seconds out there. This is properly tense. I will say it once again. We have waited 108 races for Connor to have another chance of victory. He sensibly lets Yuri go. No point fighting this one. He'll be able to pick up some DRS from it, and hopefully they can both catch Kyle together as we start the penultimate lap of this race. I mean, Yuri, he could still win it if he can pull that 3-second gap on Connor and get within 2 seconds of Kyle. Will he? I wouldn't think so, but the issue is the gap now, 4.2. We're going to move the gap to leader so you can see what happens. And, well, there you go. Yuri's hit the wall. There, that deals with that then. That deals with that little problem. And MK Bourne could win this then. Okay. Gap, 4.6 between Kyle and Connor. Surely that will start to close, and indeed it does, rapidly. So that'll be Connor in position. If MK Bourne, in the next few corners, can pull himself into the DRS range, which I think he has done, we could be on for his last lap victory fight between two of the oldies, two of the drivers who've been here right from the start, Connor and MK Bourne. This sort of fight for the win would not be out of place in a Season 1 race of JACKOCAR back on F1 2019, back in 2020. But here we are in the big 2023 on big F1 22, and we're watching MK Bourne closing in on Connor for victory here in Canada. Can you believe it?
He hasn't won a race since Azerbaijan Season 1. That was round 10, I believe, back in the day.
As Kyle opens that gap up once again, he's obviously going to watch this all the way through. If he sees MK Bourne try and pass Connor, surely he'll have to book it, because he doesn't want to well, do you though? I think either of these two winning the race is a good result for people fighting in the Championship 5, surely. As Connor loses it, and through goes MK Bourne into the lead. Now, the gap's 5.1 seconds. What does Kyle do? It's all in his hands. The man who won the last race by just, a couple of sort of milliseconds. He leads it now by just 0.02 of a second. And MK Bourne heads through the hairpin. He's got the softs on. He should have the grip for it. He should realistically win this race. Here comes Kyle though, riding on board with him. What's his straight line speed like? It's not good. Down the back straight, he cuts the final corner. The gap is 4.7 seconds. This is going to be close. Kyle crosses the line. Let's see MK Bourne. It's 4.9. He's going to do it. MK Bourne has won in Canada. We like to see that. As Season 1 driver, he has not won
as you say, Jacko, since Azerbaijan in Season 1, it has been the longest time. He won by 0.033 seconds. Incredible stuff. Connor does pick up the podium, although, of course, he should have really won the race. He lost the car through turn 6 and 7, but I don't... Well, he will mind, won't he? But it could have been worse. As Jamie Wright, no front wing, finishes 4th place. Not too bad in the end. Same for Gareth, no front wing in 5th. Jake ended up 6th. I don't actually know that's enough for him to win the regular season championship, but I'm sure... I think... might be. We'll have to wait and see. But, well, MK Bourne, who was right on... It's MK Bourne and Connor, who were 11th and 12th in the championship, will both move up into the top 10, I believe, with this.
That's amazing, isn't it?
So it does shake things up in terms of the championship, and obviously we only have one more round to decide who qualifies for the championship second phase, the playoffs.
How about this? MK Bourne's last race win in the Cup Series come 98 races ago. That is the longest winless streak snapped in JACKOCAR history.
Must be one of the smallest win gaps as well. 0.033, like.
0.033. Well, that equals the smallest win gap, doesn't it?
As if that equals it.
Hold on.
I mean, that is... must be... It's one of, if not the closest ever. It's ironic, really. I was saying it in qualifying when we were looking at MK Bourne's car.
Yeah.
It's a shame we don't see him fighting for victories in that sort of lovely, beautiful car. Well, the beautiful car has taken a beautiful victory. And now you can see it, 0.033.
That 100... Hang on. Sorry, I'm doing everything at once. That 100% smallest winning margin ever. Number 1, Jamie Griffiths in Italy, beating Arnaud de Greef by 0.033 in Season 4.
So it's an
incredible
smallest winning gap. I mean, how does that even happen? Over the course of a whole race distance, it ends up happening twice. So the order, for those of you who somehow aren't aware, MK Bourne wins from Kyle, Connor, Jimmy Wright, Gareth, Jake, Michelle Goris, Jimmy Griffiths, Jacko, and Jess, the top 10. Yuri, Risky, Wes, and Rageman, the last of the, classified drivers. Leroy, 15th. And then the official retirements, Quinn, Casper, Corey, Ben, Spurs, and Tez. What a race you decided to pick to not watch from the commentary box, I suppose.
Do you know what, as well? In all of that, I got my best result in the Cup Series as well.
No surprise about the chaos going on.
I love this league, man.
And it's a typical Canada result, isn't it? Where it all gets flipped up in the air. We see once again last lap changes for leads and all the rest of it. And I mean, that is a proper throwback. For anyone who's been here since the start, you will have loved that result. That was just brilliant.
It sounded brilliant, and the best bit is I get to watch it back because someone has got to count all the laps led.
Exactly, you've got all the stats to do, which I couldn't be bothered to do.
No, but amazing. Thank you for commentating, Owen.
Well, it is my job.
Not thank you for next week, where you won't be doing your job.
Not my job. Well, it is, but it's not. It's not. It is. It's not.
Yeah, but we go to Austria, and I'll tell you what, MK Bourne, what's that now? 5 winners in 5 different races? Or 5 different winners in a row?
Something like that, isn't it?
I'm sure somebody has a stat there. They must do.
Ben Shaw saying he's won it by a pube. That's a statement.
So after Ben Shaw went back to back in races...
Do you know what? That's a very good point. Sorry, that's a very good point MK Bourne's made. He had a drive-through in that race, can you believe it?
He did.
He had a drive-through.
You know what was even worse? I was behind him when he had his drive-through as well.
What happened, Jacko? What
happened? I think I had to make another mandatory. But yeah, Ben Shaw went back to back earlier in the season, but since then we've had Ben Shaw, Jake O'Sullivan, Kieran Spears, Kyle Smith, and now Mike Kelterborn all win 5 in a row. JACKOCAR is back to its best as we head towards then the regular season. Sorry, the conclusion of the regular season. Amazing.
Well, I don't really think I can add much more to that. That's the proper throwback week. Forget Monaco. That is MK Bourne winning a race in a fight against Connor Byers. That is Mike Kelterborn. I have to give both of them their full names. Mike Kelterborn winning a race in a fight with Connor Byers. That's just not something you would expect to see for victory in Season 7. But there you go. Hope you all enjoyed that one. I certainly did. And that's, like I said, rewarding the day one, people. Thank you for watching. And I won't see you next week, but Jacko will. And I hope that everything goes well in Austria for yet another classic. So, safe travels. Take care.